Yeah. It's the shakeout thing. I love it. So if you get it while you're in your car, you somehow get to the side of the road. Anyway.
Oh, yes. I did know that.
I remember we had a tsunami alert, like back in 2009 or something. I was at a TGI Fridays and we got a tsunami alert. I was like, what do we do? I don't. We're like out in where were we? La Jolla or something? We're like we're dead. So I'm just gonna enjoy, Anyway, sorry. So we found out later there was the wrong kind of earthquake. It didn't make a tsunami. It was an earthquake like this, not an earthquake like that. So that's why I'm still here. One reason. All right. So there's two things we want to be able to calculate. We want to calculate the equation of the line of best fit. And we also want to get a number that represents how strong the relationship is. So let me give you this handout. Hopefully that alert didn't kill the rest of the video. I don't know. Huh? Yeah. At least you're here, right? Maybe not here. That sucks. All right, so I don't mind telling you this. When I applied for the job here, part of the application was to videotape a lecture. So I got out the old camcorder. This is back in 2004, so these guys were not able to do all they can. So I sent in a videotape of this lecture. So do you see this side right here? And it says, oh shit, what's on the back of this? Oh, okay, that's something else. It's talking about number of beers you drank the night before a test, right? So my colleagues, when I got the job, they're like, yeah, we liked you a lot. We like beer. You seem to like beer. I'm like, okay, is that why I got the job? Fine. To be honest, I don't really drink much beer. I drink almost everything else. So look through the beginning of this page. Start to read off that. And let me catch up with you in a minute to see what your answers are to the questions. By the way, a disclaimer, I am not suggesting you try this. Just in case my dean gets word of this. All right, so these two situations at the top. So it does kind of make sense that you might be affected by what you did the night before, especially if it's a 7 a.m. class. Which one of those two relationships is stronger? Second one, obviously, right? So let's be more specific about what we mean by strength. The second one, if I drew the line in, all the data points are really tight to that line or close to that line. I like it. Which one, of course, is more realistic, though? This one. Who's this person? They didn't have many beers, but they probably don't know shit anyway. That's why they still gonna look right. And then who's this person? They either they knew their stuff and they can hold their liquor, right? Doesn't really mess them up the next day, right? You guys kind of with me? So these two, what do you think I'd call these two? Outliers. Beautiful. If I took them away, you really can see the trend. But you should have some outliers in almost everything you look at, because that's just the way things work. Something will randomly go against the grain. I like it. So this is more realistic, but that one is definitely stronger. Why is this a downtrend? Why does that make sense? Yeah, the drunker you are, probably the worse you'll do, right? So the more here, the less here. What about this next situation? Hours studied versus grade made. Now you would hope that the more you studied, the higher your test grade would be, right? Now here's an example about what I meant. Is that the only thing that affects how you do? No. Obviously not, because the beer. affected you too. You could study a lot, but then drink a lot, and they kind of cancel each other out, right? Possibly. Are those two things the only thing that affects how well you do on a test? No, right? There's a ton of variables. So one weakness of this is it can only compare two things at a time. There is another test that's called ANOVA, and there's some other variations on it that can compare several different categories at once. We don't quite make it that far. That'd be one of the first things you do if we taught a stats 2. Right, so be happy about that. Can you take a second? Can everybody try to draw in the line of best fit? Well, this one would be easy, right? In fact, does this one look more like it's a straight line, or what does this one look like it would be? Like part of a parabola maybe, right? So we're not going to go there. We're only going to talk about straight line correlation. But I want you to realize there could be parabolic correlation. This is kind of like AC energy usage. When it's really cold, we use a lot. When it's really hot, we use a lot. When it's nice, we don't use it, depending on who you are. Can you try to take a second and draw the line of best fit in there? Sort of ignore these. Who's this guy? Could be. So they didn't study much, but they made a great grade. So it could either be somebody who
a math genius. He's a math boy.
they're naturally good at shit, or they took the class already, right? You with me? Yes. Or they just, I don't know, cheated. Sure, why not? It's a possibility. Who's this person? They studied, so maybe this is like an example of somebody who doesn't know what study really means, but they studied a lot, but they didn't make a very good grade. Huh?
They don't know how to study.
Possibly they don't know how to study, right? Or they really just don't get it, and okay, you guys with me? So kind of ignoring this too for a second, can you draw in the line of best fit? Have you guys tried that yet? Draw in the line of best fit for the bulk of the data. I can throw out the outliers. Yes? Yeah, sort of. So let me take a first stab at it myself here. So my first stab would look something like that. And I feel pretty good about that. I mean, so what am I looking at to get a feel? I'm not going to get too deep into this because we're only going to do this kind of thing like once, really. But you see how there's sort of equal number of points? There's a few more up here. But this one really kind of pulls it. No, I'm not even counting that one. That's right. So thank God I don't count that one. But that sort of goes through the middle of the points. There's sort of the same number on each side. The distance away is kind of balanced on both sides. Doing it visually is not easy, but you should be able to give a rough guess. Yeah.
So the best fit line doesn't have to start at 0, 0?
No, definitely not. Doesn't have to. You could make that a condition if you know that should be a point on the line, but it doesn't have to. Because even if you studied 0 hours, does that mean you're going to make a 0 in the test? No. Okay. All right. So again, is this weaker or stronger relationship? Which one's stronger? This guy, yeah. And this one is more realistic, but this one's got a stronger relationship. So I want to be able to get the line of best fit, but then there's also this thing called the Pearson product or correlation coefficient. My stats teacher's name was Mr. Pearson, but he didn't have any relationship to the guy that's named after. Did you need to know that? No, I don't care. So this number, this is really an R. Some of you guys think sigma was R, but this is really an R. If it comes out to be 0, what should that feel like it should mean? If my number that represents the strength of correlation comes out to be 0, that means there's no correlation. Kick ass. But it can go from -1 to 1. Why does that make sense? Well, look at the two types of correlation we saw on this page. Which one has a positive correlation? Yeah, the study one, right? Because it's positive. And this one would have a negative correlation. So correlation does not equal slope, but it does have the same sign. So if I had a -1 value, that means perfect negative correlation. That means that they line up perfectly on a downslope line. So what's 1 mean? That they line up perfectly on an upslope line. I like it. So most things, like even this guy, is this guy going to have an R of -1? Is he going to be R -1? No, why? Because they're not perfectly on a line. So the minute I take the data points and like pull them away from the line, my R starts going away from 1 or -1. They start going towards 0. How are we feeling? So this R here should be closer to 0. Especially if you keep the outliers in there, it's like all over, so it's just measles. So it's probably going to have some very small negative. You guys see that? This should definitely be closer to 0 than this. Because which one has stronger correlation? This does. So the weaker the correlation, the closer to 0 it gets. Because what does 0 mean? No correlation. Okay, maybe. So, maybe you're as tired as I am of talking about theory. Let's get into some. This is from that calculator handout that's on the website. So I decided just to put this on here in case you haven't been nice to yourself and haven't printed it out for yourself. So I gave you a little piece of it. That's passive aggressive. I know. Just print the damn thing out. All right, so let's try to do this. So do me a favor. Everybody got calculators? So let's see what the calculator can do for us. Let's put this data into L1 and L2. Are you ever going to sort this?
No.
Why not? Because 0.5 has to go with 98. The minute you sort one of the lists, you've artificially made everything correlated. So you got to keep the data points have to stay together. Oh, let's see where I'm at. There I am. Data entry. Show. Lucy show. Scatter plot, which is really just plotting the XY points. So you could easily do this by hand, but might as well make this stupid little calculator do it for us. So here's how you do it. Do you see y equals? That's where I could put in a function. I could put in like y equals x plus 2 and it'll graph that line. What do you do? So look right above y equals. Yeah, that sounds good. So just go to second y equals. Go to stat plot. Everybody on this list here? Everybody do this. Hit 4, enter. Just to make sure that we end up with just one of these turned on. So I don't get freaky ass syntax errors. Now go back in. Go second y equals. So now everything should say off, right? Don't look at number 5. That just turns all the plots on. So just don't do that. So the 3 plots are off. So everybody select plot 1. And cuss Jeff for never showing you how I can make your own histograms on the calculator. Aha. So turn the sucker on. Turn it on. There you go. Pick this first one. You want a scatter plot. You want the one with points on it. So pick that first one. You guys, everybody with me? So turn it on, highlight on, pick the scatter plot option. And do you see how X's are L1, Y's are L2? So make sure that's where they are. So I put my X's in L1, Y's in L2. Then you get to pick. Now obviously I'm a square. It's a given. I teach math. Or you can be positive. You can be a speck of dust. Or you can be a really small speck of dust in the universe. That's just going to be what they put on the data points. So it doesn't, it's up to you. And then for me, if you got the newer one, you can pick which color it's going to be. So I'm going to do dark gray. What the hell is up with that? I'm going to do red. Now watch this. Everybody hit graph. I'm doing this for 2 reasons. I don't get shit up there, right? Ooh, Jeff, good job. Anybody get an error or something? Anybody not able to do this because you don't have a calculator and there's some up here in the back that you should really borrow and do?
Where's the graph?
Come on. I see you over there just snoozing. I'm like, come on. Sure. All right. Is everybody okay? Everybody got, it might not look like this. It depends on what somebody else did with your calculator. Anybody get an error message? I guess not. Anytime you put new data into the calculator, you want to tell the calculator, go find my freaking data calculator. Go zoom in on my calculator. So which button do I push? Zoom. Holy shit. Now look at zoom and see which one. If you have an older calculator, you won't be able to see it, but I can see mine. Yeah, zoom stat. It should be the 9th option on everybody's. So if you hit 9 for zoom stat, you should get this. Dude. Say again.
It was on the left side of the y-axis.
Oh, if you got, so everybody, so your y equals should be empty right now. Is that what you're saying? Is there a line showing up on your graph? Is that what you're saying? What are you saying?
No,
Are you getting? Is everything all right? Yes.
I'm not. I just finished doing my.
Oh shit.
Because I have
All right. So now hit zoom, and then 9 for zoom stat. You just hit the number 9. There we go. Oh shit. So you are off kilter, aren't you? See how you got nobody for him? So you did it some one of these. So if anything's gonna happen,
where did Jen go? Oh yes, I thought it was the big speaker. And I got a question. Well, good for
If it was a Monday, you'd want to go home too. I don't understand what the Thursdays are. All right, guys. All right. So I tried to make it look. I tried to make numbers that kind of matched this picture. You guys with me? So we already know there is a down correlation, right? There's a down correlation, but is it strong? Is that correlation strong? No. Because they're kind of like all over the place. So it should be negative, but negative close to 0. Yes. As Jack's trying to prove that she heard what I just said. So, I want to make the calculator calculate 2 things for me. One is the line that best fits this data. And the second thing is that R number that tells me how strong this is. And I already know it should be kind of weak, just by looking at it. It's not very tight to a line. So watch this. If you hit stat, calc, because I want to calculate something with my data. It's kind of funny that they have two options, but which one looks like what I want to have happen? No. I appreciate that. There are two variables here, but what gets at my line of best fit? Number 4. I don't know why they made number 8. I don't know. Forget about number 8. Now to be different, this is stats people here, right? So what's the equation of a line in algebra? Mx plus b. What does stats people use? A. But a here just means the slope. Whatever number's in front of the x is the slope. That's how it works. So if I do this, hit enter. Make sure you got L1. By the way, if you have an older calculator, it defaults to L1, L2. So you just hit enter. So the old one's actually better. I don't know why they do all this weird shit. L1, L2, blah, 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 calculate. I get a lot of information. Some of you guys probably don't get all this information. You want me to do that again? What? Clear it. Yeah. You don't have a P of X. You don't have a weight column. So let me do that again. Stat, edit, number 4. L1, L2, blank, blank, calculate. Now don't worry. Anybody not getting something that I got? What are you missing?
Like the whole last, yeah.
Everything. Did you get this?
No, I got like a different number.
Oh shit. Did anybody get the same number as me? I could have put some. Everybody? Okay, good. I feel a little bit better. All it takes is one mistake in that list, let me tell you. That so sucks. What'd you get? Not too far off.
Too far out.
But far enough.
You do use this, so
Yeah,
Yeah, just one of them just didn't do it. That's all.
I'm tired.
Did you put unit? You did
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Because otherwise it's going to treat that like the P of X.
Alright.
How's everybody else?
I got it.
I get this. And like, I don't put
Enter.
enter.
Okay, don't worry. We'll get everybody's R showing up. How's everybody else?
And then you go to second.
Anyway, I gotta turn all of them.
No, first off, turn this on. Yes.
And then from
And then
there,
the other option is-
you're going to go to
So
second.
that
And
tells
then
me that
this time.
one of these is put in.
Enter. You're gonna turn it on. And then you're gonna do the scatter plot. And then you're gonna do list 1. And then you're gonna do second, which is going to be list 2.
What? Just looking at the slide.
And then from there you go to. He's gonna show nothing at first.
Oh,
And
you're
you're
all
gonna
fun.
do this.
Alright, so here's that. 5, bring it back. And now I do my watch.
Zoom stack.
To make
So
that
it's number 9.
L5, bam.
Click that.
And now it's 6.
And then from there, what else did we do? Oh, to find the line,
Now if you
you
do
go to
this.
that.
Don't worry about the R, I'll get the R.
So like that one. You can click enter.
Okay,
And then
alright. Alright guys, the more focused you are, the earlier we can leave. I don't know,
And
that
then that
should be good motivation.
Did you get that?
All right, guys. If you're not getting R to show up, if this is your calculator, what I'm about to do with you, it'll be set. With me? It'll just give you R every damn time. You're good. If it's a calculator you're borrowing, guys, if it's a calculator you're borrowing, on the day of the test, you'll want to make sure. If that doesn't show up, just come up to see me and I'll make it show up. All right? Don't sit there and go, well, I guess it's not something I can answer. Yes?
In his calculator, A showed up as B and B showed up as A.
Because you picked 8, not 4. When you did calc, you picked 8, which is A plus BX, not 4, which is AX plus B.
Oh.
It's really, you guys with me that that's really stupid? I mean, not what you did, but what they did. I have no idea why they had an option where they're like, you want B to be the slope? Well, here you go. It's kind of dumb. So it doesn't, you got the right answer, it's just you picked the option that put the slope as B instead of A. Okay. Now, let's get everybody to have this R. So if you don't have the R showing up, hit second 0, which is a catalog of every freaking thing the calculator can do. That's neat. And it's so freaking huge that I'm going to hit the button to get to the D section of the list. See the one with the little D on top? Hit that button. So now I should be in the D part of the list. Everybody with me that needs this? Scroll down to where it says diagnostic on. You only have to do this once if this is your calculator. Enter, enter. We do it again. Second 0, go to the D section, go to diagnostic on. Enter, enter. Now if you go stat, calc, number 4, now everybody should have the R showing. Yes?
No, it didn't work.
No, just say like, I'll take my time. What are you trying to get it on?
You know what? We just clicked the wrong one. If you go back, I'm sure it'll change.
Is that R where we thought it would be?
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be negative slope, but is very weak. So it is a negative number that is closer to 0 than it is to 1. You guys get that? So if this was negative 0.9, that is a decently strong negative correlation. That means it's down slope where the points are really lined up pretty well. Is that all right? Okay, so let's answer some of these questions on this thing. Let's see. What do you get for R? Negative 0.339. Is this a strong correlation? No. So it's a weak negative correlation. Line of best fit, that's negative 2.54. Don't turn off on me. X plus 89.83. Is that cool? Just copying that shit down.
Okay.
Cool. I do that because before I answer this next question, I want to show you on the final, when you hit this problem, you got to come up to me and show me not just this, you got to also show me the line of best fit. How do I get the line of best fit to show up? I probably hit the button. Yeah, so if you hit y equals, you can just put this in. This is negative, down here, that's negative 2.54. Here's your x, right there. X, negative 2.54x plus 89.83. Yeah, otherwise, you just get a constant. So there's your y equals. There's the negative button. If you hit the minus button, the calculator's going to freak out. There's minus, there's negative.
Yes.
Just hardwired different. 2.54, there's your X button. Nobody screamed out in confusion about, everybody's got Y showing up here, right? If you're sitting there with like X1 and X2 and you're not telling me anything, that's bad. Because I mean, watch. There, Y equals, look at that! Sorry. So there's different modes you can put this in. We just want it in function mode. Now, is everybody able to get to this point?
How did you? Because I put it in, but how do I get it?
Hit graph. If you get a syntax error, let me know. If you don't get that line showing up, let me know.
Oh, okay, look at that.
Yes. Whoa. Zoom 9 makes the calculator set the window up. You had something. Oh yeah, because you had the wrong lists. Yeah. All right, how are you doing? Everybody able to get there? What's up? Everybody all right? Y equals graph. Because you already did the zoom, so it already has the data points. You just have to show the line on the screen. So on the day of the final, there's going to be a problem, a correlation problem. You got to put all the data in. You got to make the scatter plot. You got to get the line, and they're going to come up and show it to me. What? Not now, because I know what it's going to look like. But when you get a final and you get your own little problem, you have to come up and show that scatter plot and line of best fit. Yeah, don't hit me in the face with it. I don't need that. Splat. No, fail, easy. All right. All right. So look at the last question. Oh, this last question on this was a little bit evil. One thing I'm going to have to give you that I didn't put on this paper is there is a minimum R value that's needed so that I can trust the line of best fit to make a good prediction. So like this R is so tiny, I wouldn't trust it. But for a certain sample size, there are certain R values that tell me I can trust it. So if it's really, really small sample, R might have to be like 0.7 or bigger, and then I can trust it to make a good prediction. If it's a really large sample, maybe R could be 0.4, and that's evidence there's a correlation I can trust it to make a prediction.